This is the Artist Entrepreneur Podcast. We are your hosts, Amanda Ritchie, Noah Dock, and me, Carrie Wee. We're three artists brought together by the love of circus and dance. Amanda from the world of Cirque du Soleil as an aerial soloist. Noah, our academic, and me from the commercial dance world. This is one of the greatest jobs in the world, but it comes with uncertainty. Each episode contains insight on how to pursue art-based businesses. We'll have a variety of guests and have lively weekly Discord. Tune in every week to hear our perspectives on the minefield that is the artist's way of life. All right, go ahead, baby.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
You're much bigger than when I last saw you, which you probably don't remember.
When I was 1.
Probably. How old are you now? Like 4 or 5?
5.
5? Wow.
5.5.
5.5. Okay, ready?
Time flies.
Jer!
How's it going?
Oh my God, where does this find you? Where are you right now?
I'm in LA. I'm in
You're in
showing up.
LA?
Yeah.
Do you have a home office or is this like an office?
No, this is my home office.
Oh my God. Oh my God, listeners. So Jeremy and I met each other because we lived in the same condo building. And I like fooled you into helping me with my dance reel,
You did. Your small dance reel.
which was many months of a project for some reason. So back then, this is probably more than 10 years ago because, more than 10 years ago. Jeremy his career was budding and he was editing movie trailers.
Yeah.
And then, and then at some point you start working for HBO and you were editing trailers for Game of Thrones and shows like that. And then his career took off and life took over. He met his wonderful wife and he's had a kid. How old's your kid now?
She is 2.5, well, almost 3.
How old is she?
Almost 3 years old, Bean.
I'm older. I'm older.
She's very competitive with said kids that she's never met before.
Well, Kiara loves hanging out with older kids for some reason, so.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Is she a girl?
Yeah, Kiara's a girl. Her name's Kiara. Yeah.
Girl power.
Girl power. So Jared's like such an old good friend of mine, but I wanted to bring him on here to talk about how he got where he's at in his business because he is a creative. But you're like one of those creatives, unlike me, that works on the other side of the fence. Like you work in the corporate world, and you're a creative in the corporate world, which I think is very different than what I do.
Yeah.
Very different. You have to play by certain other set of rules. You have to do all the other things that corporate America is, and somehow figure out how to be successful within that structure. So, if you would introduce yourself, a little bit about you today, because I actually need to catch up on that.
Yeah. Jeremy Scripter. I've known Carrie, as she said, for quite a long time. Moved out to LA after college, started working in film, worked on film sets, doing PA work, went into art department for a while, location managing. All in that time, I was kind of taking side jobs editing. Then eventually I shifted to a trailer company called Craig Murray Productions, which merged with Motion. And I worked there for probably almost 7 years. Worked at Concept Arts for a couple years after that. HBO reached out for a senior producer position, which was a shift from what I was doing as an editor. But I did have some of that filming experience from the beginning of my career. And I did do a little bit of finishing work at Motion. You know, I worked in the finishing department for a while as I was kind of like climbing the ranks. So it seemed to be a good thing to incorporate all my skills. I did have to move out to New York because of it. I moved out to New York after a couple of years. I was promoted to an associate creative director, met my wife out there. And then we ended up coming back to LA, had a kid. And then just a couple months ago, I got promoted to a creative director. So I am now a creative director at HBO.
Oh my God. So wait, I want spoilers on everything, but I know I'm not going to get it. What do you have your hands in over there?
Right now, I'm working on Peacemaker Season 2, The Pit Season 2, we're on the tail end of this doc series called The Mortician, and I've been doing some stuff for Max Sports. We just did an event on Wednesday, a pickleball event
Oh my
on
God.
Venice Beach to promote Roland Garros.
Do you play pickleball?
I don't.
Yeah, I know the tennis purists are hating on pickleball, but I get it.
Andy Roddick was there, like
Really?
playing. Yeah,
Really?
so that was cool.
Okay.
Squaring off against some of the pickleball pros.
So creative director, what does that mean? What does that mean though? Like, you're not actually on production of these TV shows, are you? Are you
No,
creative
so
direction and then marketing?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I work in marketing. So I will be assigned shows. I oversee a team of it's 10 or 11, and I get assigned shows. We have our associate creative directors kind of like be the lead for that show, and then we handle all the trailers, TV spots, episodics and recaps. We will coordinate shoots. So we'll interview talent, shoot behind the scenes. Sometimes we come up with concepts to shoot with talent. So kind of anything video related that is in marketing for a show.
Okay, so how many creative directors do they have at HBO? Because they have a lot of shows. They have a lot of content. So like you are in charge
Yeah.
of marketing for like a handful of shows.
Right.
So they have
I believe there's 8 creative directors total. And our internal department's like 100 or something.
really? That's a
Of
lot.
just our department.
Oh, your
Yeah.
department. Okay. Now, so let's pick apart how you do this. Like the creative part of it. How much do you feel like you're actually having fun with that? Or is it a lot of management of people? Like what's the breakdown for you?
I think, I mean, out of everywhere over my career, it's always a give and take, right? I'm sure you've kind of experienced it as well. You always go in very passionate about something. I think to be successful in our career, a lot of times we have to really love what we do.
And then the marrying wears you down. You get worn down.
There's just a lot of people that look at something and give feedback, and your goal is just to navigate that all and make the best thing you can. And the hope is that each round of feedback makes it better and better. So you ultimately end with the best product, but that can be tough to kind of juggle various feedback and make something that's working well.
What's your favorite part about your job?
Before I was kind of like the campaign lead on shows. So it was like I worked with a lot of people and I oversaw a lot of work, but now I have a team and I do like, I like my team a lot. I like working with them. I like trying to position themselves well for their careers and everything. I also really like doing shoot stuff, doing concepts and coming up with concepts and shoot ideas for shows that maybe we can do, maybe we can't. And then, trailers are always fun. Trailers are kind of still the bread and butter. They're the ones that get like millions of views. So working on those, especially at the beginning, is really fun, as you're trying to like figure out the best way to market this show.
Back in the day, Jeremy's a photographer as well, and he's a videographer.
Yep.
How much of that skill set like makes its way and threads in with your skill set now?
I think it actually does help a lot. When we do interviews and shoots and different things, we do have a crew that comes in and we work with the crew. So I'm not actually shooting anything much anymore at all. But I think having that eye and having done it, I can communicate better. I'm also really big on collaboration. So, I like to have my thoughts and ideas going in and everything, but hearing someone else's, you're trying to hire people and work with people that are talented and you like. So it makes sense to hear their feedback too. And I think having that experience, you can understand a little more when they're talking to you about something.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the case for everybody, but I think it's really helpful to have done the thing before you manage the thing.
Yeah.
Like
for you, I don't know, have you ever had choreographers that never really danced? Or
sometimes it's okay, but sometimes you can just tell that they don't get it.
Yeah, and it's possible. You have sports coaches that never played, and some people just have that mind. But there is something about having done it and experienced it that I think helps you out a lot of times.
Yeah, it's like you were in the weeds at some point. And just to
Yeah.
figure out like listeners, because I'm sure you've seen all of my pictures. Jeremy did have my pictures. Like the pictures that I still use to this day because I haven't shot in a while, but like, you know, he had a setup in his apartment, and then he would like take pictures that I now use for my website and stuff. And you know, just having to figure out lighting in that like very like your living room.
But that's what, and this is what, like, I tell people, you know, I didn't know, like, I started out in video. I wanted to do some photo stuff because, you know, I got a DSLR for video, but it's great for photo. And, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of feeling my way, but you just do it and keep doing it and try and make it happen. And that's what it was, is setting up like this studio thing in my condo and, you know, doing shoots and just trying to get better and make it happen.
Yeah, I think that's great too, because some people hear from other creatives and it's like getting from like that person doing free photo shoots in your living room to being the creative director of HBO. Like that's an interesting story of how you got from A to Z. I mean, and your career will go hopefully skyrocket from here. But can you talk about like those crucial transition points in your career, and think about it from the perspective of a creative that's trying to become also financially successful as well as resume successful. Yeah. And maybe we can focus in on that one time. Jeremy and I were still living in LA, both single. Oh my God, we have stories because like we were both single at the same time and we were just trying to date at the same time. Like the hot mess that we both went through. It's like you never think you're going to see the end of it because it's so bad, and then you meet the person that ends up answering the question for you. But at some point, you lost your job.
Yes. Yep.
And you were like WT.
20,
what year was
2016.
It? 2016. And you were like, oh my God. And it was kind of a low point. Am I remembering that correctly?
It was interesting because I had kind of aspirations and I felt like I wanted to do a little more, probably like every young, like driven person, you're like, yeah. I could do a little more. And at one point I actually like resigned and I was going to start my own business, which is why I had equipment at home and everything. And they kind of talked me into staying and everything. And, yeah, so it was kind of a surprise. I mean, maybe I think that could have played into it in terms of, you know, they knew that like if they needed to get rid of someone, I was someone that at one point wanted to leave and everything. But it was a surprise. And right around the same time I was in a soccer league, I like destroyed my knee. And
that's right. You had the biggest knee.
Yeah.
So swollen.
I fractured like hairline fractures in my tibia and femur and tore my meniscus. So it was not a fun one, but, you know, so that was kind of like, now I'm just sitting on crutches, like in a lot of pain with no job. But I mean, I just picked up editing jobs right away, which was nice. So I didn't feel like I had that long period of just doing nothing, but, you know, it was just an adjustment. And I think it's one of the best things that happened to me. But, you know, in that immediate period, you kind of don't see it.
Yeah. Can you talk about that? Like what happened next?
Sure. So next, I mean, I was you know, I'd been kind of doing the same thing for a long period of time. So I did want to kind of freelance and get an idea of like other places. So I started freelancing around, and it was good because you just get different experiences and you see how different people work. And then I kind of landed at Concept Arts, and I just like kept extending. And yeah, I really love that place. I actually thought I was going to kind of stay there. And then the HBO thing came up, and it did seem like the accumulation of all the skills I'd kind of added over the years.
Yeah.
So it felt like the right move for me. I didn't know, you know, I was going to go to New York, give it a couple years, see how it works out, and maybe come back to LA and try and get on the editing side of things again, or feel it out. But yeah, just stayed, you know, stayed moved up, and yeah, here I am.
What do you think if there are just a couple keys to your success up until this point, what do you think those things are?
Yeah, I was trying to I didn't know what you're gonna ask.
I'm making it up as I go along. I never plan either.
Yeah. But that was one of the things, I think yesterday, I'm like, yeah, let me think about my career because I'm sure I'm going to talk about it. And now that I'm managing too, people want to move up and people ask for career advice and different things. I'm in the mentor program at Warner Brothers. So I've, been doing that. And I think for me, I don't want it to be too cliche, but I did, I just kept grinding and working at stuff. And then, every time I had setbacks, I would just try and absorb it and keep going. I think the hardest thing to do, especially if, there's times where people give you criticism, it's a balance because you shouldn't take what everyone says as truth, but you should look at it. You should look at it objectively and say, is this truth? Is this something I need to work on? And I think knowing how to filter the things that you do need to work on and look at versus the things that some people just say, or maybe it's only even changing the perception of what someone thinks of you. I think if you can kind of be self-aware and look at that stuff and take some criticism and improve on it, that's a key thing.
I like that. Not everything people say is true, but there might be a morsel of truth to it. Or how can you take some of that criticism and turn it into strength after some work?
Yeah. Sometimes people are just way off.
Yeah. Sometimes
it's their perception and your limited interactions with them, and they may perceive you a certain way. And then other times, it's true, and it's something you got to take and deal with and work on it.
Yeah. Okay. So from the creative side of things, what is it like to be in a creative corporate job? Educate me as a non-corporate person.
Well, I've worked on the vendor side, I've worked on the corporate side, so I've had experience with both. I think there's advantages to both. Now I'll hire vendors. And so you're the one kind of driving things. You're the one telling when things need to be turned around and do you need to work late tonight and stuff. I remember all those times that I was sitting late working at night and different things as an editor. So I try and keep that in mind. And that is something I think of. And the goal is always not to try and work someone too hard or be cognizant to give feedback in a timely manner. But then also, we have a big company. When you look at the amount of people, and it's a lot of working with other departments. On the vendor side, you might be working with 10 people consistently that you're consistently interacting with. And for me now, it's probably, I consistently interact 60 to 70. So, and those people are all in different departments. They're overseeing different things. So there is more of a mindset of how you work with others. You have to be creative, but you have to work well with others. You have to kind of, there's a lot more process in place. When you're on the vendor side, you're just kind of making the best creative you can. It's not quite that simple, but that's kind of the goal. And on the corporate side, there's just a lot more nuance than that. You want to make the best creative, but then you have to go through all these other kind of procedural things.
So I wanted to ask you, for example, when you're putting together a movie trailer or a TV trailer, are you going home and is your homework to watch everything? Because you're basically creating a story, a mini story out of the story.
Yeah. Well, if I work on something, I obviously watch it.
Yeah.
You have to know the material pretty much back and forth.
Okay, but Game of Thrones is it's a lot of. You probably watched it for your own sake, but these are long shows.
When I came over to HBO, I think it was before Game of Thrones final season. So I cut a behind the scenes featurette for that about prosthetics and stuff. So it was a lot of watching behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, on these other shows that I'm doing, 8 hours, 10 hours. If you're doing breakdowns, that can take, depending on how detailed you want to get, that can take a week or two. So like a breakdown, I'll go, every editor has their own process, but I'll watch the show, I'll subclip out dialogue lines and actually type them out.
Okay.
And then I can see all the lines in one setting and start in my head like, oh, would this line flow well with this line? And then start moving around in a timeline, because I like to start with the structure of the story first to make sure everything makes sense. And then it's kind of like getting it to work with the music and then adding shots and different things. But, if you don't have the right story, or if your lines are confusing, then the whole thing's kind of not working.
Okay. So it helps to be a lover of TV and film to have this job.
That's what I'm saying. You can't. Yeah, because this is one of the reasons why I took the HBO job, and I love HBO because I love the programming there.
Yeah.
Because and actually, like when I work on something, I don't really get sick of it, especially like some of the shows that I really love. But there have been times in the past where you work on something and you see it over and over again, and you're on it for 6 months. You can get tired of it, obviously. So starting at a place of loving TV and movies is a good spot.
I mean, I think that the people you work with, that's probably the constant, like the constant. You gotta love that actual product. I'm a movie and TV person too, so I think I would do well in that type of environment.
Yeah, you would spoil shows for me.
Yeah. I did. What did I spoil for you? Oh my God.
I think it was Merlin, someone dying. Our guilty pleasure spoil.
So I don't know. You were like one season behind me.
Yeah.
And like the big character dies. And I thought you were already where I was. And I was like, what'd you think? The way he died. And you were like, Carrie, I'm not there yet. Oh my God. I love how you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were like, how mad were you?
I was jokingly mad. But I was probably slightly annoyed.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so what would your advice be for young creatives? Number one, would you suggest moving in the corporate path? If not, how would you suggest them to try to move forward if they want to do their own thing, be freelance? What are your thoughts on that?
I think if you're starting out in your career and you're at an entry level, I don't know if you should, I don't think you'll know. Like, some people love the corporate environment. Some people love the vendor side. Some people love working independently for themselves. So I would look more at the opportunity. I think especially starting your career, I don't know if you want to limit yourself to say, oh, I just want to do this. But I would say no matter what you do, and it's hard, but, if we're talking about how you separate yourself from others, at an entry level, you're probably going to be doing entry responsibilities. So you still have to find your own time to keep doing stuff. If you want to be an editor, do your work, but then edit stuff on the side, or try and compete against better editors, volunteer to I'll try and cut a trailer for that. I came across one of those Facebook memories, and it was something like, oh, I just worked 26 days in a row, only 25 left. And I was like, what was I doing? And someone asked that, and it was like working my normal job, cutting this show in my downtime.
Yeah.
It was this style show that aired in the Caribbean. And then I was doing shoots and working events on the weekends. So it was a lot. And at the time it was probably too much, but again, I think all those things helped develop the skills, which helped me today.
My kid just jumped straight off the top of her bunk bed. Great.
That sounds like your kid.
Yeah, totally. You see this mic? She'll hang Barbies off of it. I'm like, that is so on point for this brand, the podcaster aerialist. And then you would and then I'd be like, hey, you want to shoot me on Saturday? And you would always say yes, or we would try to schedule it for when you had time. And the bottom line is, and I think both of us were like this. I think I was 100% like this too. When I was at that point in my career, I was like, it was singular focus. Now, hey, stop. We both have kids now, a kid. We're both parents now. We both have our partners, and our time is just different.
For sure. I mean, that's a good thing to mention. I was doing all that, but I was also someone that got married later in life and had a kid later in life, and that was kind of my path. So you should evaluate like what do you want out of your life? Like if you don't want, like some people just blindly always go for the next promotion, always trying to climb the ladder, but you should just, and there's nothing wrong with that, but stop and think for a minute, like, is that what you want?
Yeah, I mean, when did you get married? How old were you, Jar?
I was, you're gonna age me here, but I think I was 40.
Yeah. So I was around this, well, by the time I met my partner and had this one, I was like, 41 as well. What I've seen from my podcasts is that there's some Gen Zers who are making a very, very intentional decision to get married and have kids in their young 20s because they see people like me, you, for example, just waited and they think it's too long. And it's arguable that it is, especially if you're a woman. But like so many of our friends and colleagues in LA, that was the mindset, like singular focus on career, singular focus. And you kind of put to the side family planning, getting married and all that stuff because you're so hell-bent on this one career path. And I think that is honestly the secret to some of our success because the only way to do what we did at that time was to only do it. Like not only pick one project, but just be like so hell-bent on your purpose.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think that it's possible to do both when you're young?
I think it's tough.
Yeah. Me too.
I think one of the things, if I was looking back and trying to prove things, I was the type of person that would just say kind of yes to everything and try and do everything, editing jobs, photography stuff. In retrospect, I probably could have been a little more selective. Not a lot, but even if I cut down 20% of that, that's 20% more time, socialize or do stuff. But I think it's being selective about what you do and saying like, I would just take stuff I wouldn't really think about, but like, oh, I have this opportunity. Do I think this will help me in the long term? I think that's part of it. And then also just knowing what you want. And our wants change as we get older. But I think if you're kind of listening to like your inner self and saying, is what I'm doing right now, like, you're not always going to be happy. Sometimes it's going to be hard, but like, am I on the right path or does this not feel right for me? Because I think society tells us we should all kind of do a certain thing. And I think you and I are probably people that are a little more like, okay, tune out some of society and listen and try and figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, I think about it a lot because I'm just like, is it possible to do what I did in my career if I hadn't just said yes every time the opportunity came along? And it's a good question, Like I have some friends, this is one small example, who female dancers who put relationships in front of their career sometimes, and they said no at particular flexion points, and who knows what have happened. I kind of am in the camp of like, when you're that age, you just go hard. And I didn't have any balance at that time in my life. I
can give you two examples. I worked this short film job. Can't remember if I did it for free or maybe I was getting paid like $75, $100 a day. And I was a PA. The art department was short, so they put me in art department, which I'm not great at, but I showed up and I worked hard. Production designer really liked me, and she was someone that knew someone, which is why she was involved in the project, but she worked on a lot of features. And then I worked with her for like 2 years in art department. And that was just a small 4-day job. I gave up a weekend for it, but that got me jobs for the next 2 years. And I was union eligible. I could have continued in that if that was something I wanted to do, which I ultimately didn't. But there's that. And then another one is I worked on an AFI film, again, as a PA. Showed up on time, worked hard. Director really liked me. He graduated later on. He got a job location managing, brought me on as a scout, and then eventually kind of moved me up to assistant location manager. And then he actually had to leave the film to go get married, and then I took over as location manager of the film, and then I worked with those producers for several other films. So that again was a small opportunity that provided a couple of years of work.
Yeah, because you just put yourself in the right position, and then you showed you're capable of it, and you demonstrated that you could do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one mistake people make is they take like a free job or a low paying job, to make connections. And then they're like, oh, this is free or low paying, so I'm not going to work hard. When it's the exact opposite. If you're taking a job for connections, you should.
That's the thing you're getting out of it. Right.
Really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you got to take advantage of it and not be a putz when you're there. It also says a lot. So it also says something about not being an ASS when you're on set. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like in our business, there are some people who make it a brand to be such a dick on set, like an asshole. Do those people tell me they don't make it to the top, or do they?
I think those people can make it to the top, but I think I look back at when I started PAing, and yeah, I took some stuff. I'll say that. But I think that's less acceptable these days. I don't think that it's not eliminated. It still happens, but I think it happens less, and there's more consequences when something does happen. People are actually saying like, hey, you can't talk to people like this, or you can't do this. That's not right. So I think those people are going to have less of a chance now to get to the top than before.
Well, what makes me happy is that somebody like you did get to your position as a manager, and you've got people's careers in your hand, and you are one of those guys. You're a good guy. Like, truly, like an empathetic.
I'm a good girl.
Are you a good girl? Sometimes.
What?
Like I would be very happy to have somebody like Jeremy as a boss.
But I try and be polite. I try and, treat people very respectfully, which I think has worked well overall for me. But, there have been criticisms. Oh, like, are you a little too timid? Or are you a little too whatever? I don't think that's the case. I think that's when I'm just going back to the perception thing. Maybe I talk a little softer. I'm not as authoritative, but I believe very much in my ideas, and I want to collaborate with people and respect people. And I actually think some of the success I've had is because I listen to other people. But that also doesn't mean like I'm timid. Right. It just means I'm polite and listen, which is different because there are timid
and you can't
people.
Really be a timid person to get to where you have gotten, because I mean it's kind of like the pathway of a creative into like a successful position. That is warfare, actually. Yeah. To get there, and whether or not you go through with respecting people all the way up, you can still do that, but it's warfare getting there, one way or another. I feel like the entertainment industry, that's just what it is. Like,
it's very hard to be like timid. Again, I think there's forms that could be construed as timid when they're not. But if you're actually timid, it's very hard to be successful because a lot of it, you just got to come in and like make stuff happen.
Yeah.
Which takes, if you're doing it in a polite way, if you're doing it in a friendly way, you're still doing it and making it happen.
Yeah.
And one great person for me, I was a PA on 2 Ron Howard movies, and that was someone that showed me like, hey, you don't have to be yelling. You can be polite, you can be nice, and still be very successful. And everyone respected him.
Yeah, and be effective.
Yeah. I mean, Frost Nixon was Oscar nominated for Best Picture, and he was, very, very polite and still had a very strong vision.
Yeah, I mean, I hate being on set when the director is just yelling and screaming at every single person in the room and the tension, and no one actually wants to be there. Like I've been on sets like that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Do you love being on set? Are you one of these people?
I do love being on set for the most part. I'm kind of sensitive to the atmosphere, people's energy. So I like being on like a good set. I don't like it quite as much if the sets, you're feeling all that tension. Yeah. But I also like being on set because I'm not on set every day. When I first started and you're 4 months into a shoot on set every day, then you're like, it's exhausting and it's not the greatest environment. a lot of like I would find myself swearing all the time when I'd get off films, and just because that's the common language, and you're tired and ornery. And
Yeah. Yeah, I learned that I don't love being on set, actually, which is important if you're going to try to be an actress or something like that, or be in production. You kind of, same thing. It's like, what is the actual medium of your job? Like, what is the daily grind? You got to be like to be in that room. I think that's something that I like to share with young people too, who are deciding whether to get into something or not. I'm like, do you like being in that room? Like, you want to be a Pilates teacher? Do you like being in a Pilates studio? Do you want to talk to people all day long? Because that's what you're going to do. You're going to be a therapist.
Or how do you grow to like that? Or how do you learn to accept the negative parts? Like, do the positives outweigh the negatives?
Yeah. You know what? Only later on in my life did I realize I was very happy to work with so few men in my workforce. That is hilarious, right? Because you'd think, like, I wouldn't think to myself, okay, when I'm thinking about a career to start, I would like to be around like-minded women. I never thought to myself that, but that's where I'm at, and it is peaceful. You know, like, it's so interesting to me. Somebody else on a podcast was talking about, don't just pick the thing that you like. Imagine yeah. Oh, I see. Thank you, Starburst Face. She's eating candy and blowing the sugar on me. Like, are you an introvert? Do you want to be in a room alone all day? Do you want to be surrounded by people and talking to people all day? Like, what's your social battery? That is something that I never would have thought about, that I never thought about before. Yeah. And now I'm realizing how important it is.
I think it's super important to surround yourself with people you can trust, people you like. In my job, like I said, I do think sometimes it's nice to also have some people that have different perspectives than you, that can challenge you, or maybe bring to your attention something that you wouldn't have thought of, from your perspective. But it's all like a balancing act. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, if you have a bunch of different perspectives, is everyone buying into collaboration and willing to have like that conversation and exchange of ideas?
Jer, what will we be seeing? What's dropping? What's dropping that you've been working on right now?
Well, like I said, Peacemaker 2 is coming out. That's been a couple years since season 1. Pitt season 2. The first season did really well. I like, a lot of people talked about it. Yeah, those are the big projects for me. I watched Last of Us. I watched The Rehearsal. I watched Hacks. I thought all those shows were great. I didn't work on them, but those were recent ones that came out that I loved. Okay.
Did you just for yourself watch House of Dragon?
Yeah. I cut a 30-second spot on season 1, so I'd watched it. That was one where I watched for work, and it did take a while to break it all down. But yeah, I keep watching House of Dragon. House of Dragon.
So it came out when she like starts to watch shows with me, and I was like, oh, I can't watch this one. What, Bean?
No more candy.
No more candy. I'm about to give you the rest of your food. So, Jeremy, I appreciate you. I'm so proud of you. Like to see you.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Come on, I want my Subway.
Okay, you want to eat?
My Subway.
Do you want to say goodbye? She always says goodbye.
Well, I was going to say quickly, I'm very proud of you. I love what you're doing and making stuff happen, and all the help you're giving to people through this and through everything else. Yeah. I've somehow, you asked me if I needed one more podcast. I have 3 like, who needs 3 podcasts? I guess I do. And then when we visit LA, maybe we'll come see you and your kid and your beautiful wife. Please do. Yeah. You ready to say goodbye?
Bye.
Say bye, Jer.
Bye. We'll try and wrap this up so you can get your candy soon.
I already ate a lot. I'm done eating my candy.
Yeah, we had half of a Subway sandwich and jumped on, and she just ate candy while we were talking. So we needed more food, real food. Hungry. Yeah, we need real food. That's what my wife says the same thing to me. I do like my Starburst. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Amanda Ritchie at Grounded in Flight on Instagram and at Noah Doc on Instagram, as well as Red Flags app. And me, Carrie Wee, you can find at wrapyourheadaroundsilks.com. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We have so much more coming at you, including guests that are in this art world, that are blazing their way through new businesses and, just more banter from us. Thank you for listening. This is The Artist Entrepreneur.